Welcome into the CHGO White Sox postgame show, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. Two mothers for you, Sean Anderson, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Follow him at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. We are being produced today by Sarah.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody out there. Thank you for telling Herb and I Happy Mother's Day. We really appreciate it. We're working on our day of all days, Herb. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. I really do appreciate the women in my life. My wife, her mother, my mother, and my grandmother I all saw today. And they all saw me and said, "Aren't you hot?" Like 15 times.
Wow.
Like, that's all I heard today was the women in my life looking at me and saying, because I'm wearing a hoodie and jeans, "Are you hot? Do you need a t-shirt?" It's like, I'm 20, whatever. I could speak up for myself. I also dress myself. I could put on a t-shirt if I want to. So shout out to all the women in my life, who are wanting me to put on a t-shirt.
It's always your mother or the women in your life that make sure that they probably know you best. They probably know that you probably were hot, and then you're like, "I'm stubborn enough. I'm gonna keep this stuff on. I am actually hot, but you know what? I'm not gonna give them satisfaction, not even on their day."
Do you know what they fixed at the office? The air conditioning.
They did,
and it feels fine in here. I feel fine. Hit that thumbs up button. I also feel fine because even though the White Sox lost 7-0 today to the Cleveland Guardians, 3 out of 4 ain't bad.
Oh,
that's the saying, right?
Yeah. Well, the Meatloaf song is 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but yes.
Is it?
Yes.
No, I'm not going to go listen back to that Meatloaf song.
Rest in peace, Meatloaf.
He was kind of...
Yeah, he wasn't great.
Yeah.
And also, Melissa,
we'll see you somewhere.
Happy Mother's Day to you, Melissa.
Happy Mother's Day, Melissa.
Speaking of Melissa, she came out last year to a couple of the takeovers with her family, so I have a read later on, but also... Remember, we got a takeover on the 27th of this month, May 27th. Come on out. Watch the Toronto Blue Jays and the Chicago White Sox in section 147 with us.
Her and her family are right there on the promo. Look at that. Boom. So, happy Mother's Day to Melissa. But, yeah, no, it should be a fun time. We get to see Toronto, and last time we saw that, Denny Mendick lost a knee. So, knock on wood that Denny Mendick returns and can stay healthy for the game.
That'd be great. I mean, I hope it's not Danny Mendick, but if it's the third baseman and a shortstop, I'll be very sad because Brian Ramos, even though the White Sox haven't played well today, I think the man's got a future at third base here in the South Side. He's been pretty solid, both with the glove and with his IQ, and the bat's been awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about Brian Ramos. I'm excited to talk about Andrew Vaughn. Hey, he went deep. Finally, our guy. Excited to talk about future All-Star Corey Lee because it seems like that man's writing in the ballot. I know I'm punching my cards. Excited to talk about Garrett Crochet's 11K performance on Saturday. We're going to talk to Vinny about his recent article about Martin Maldonado and why his sub-100 batting average is still on the team and getting as many starts as it is. But I do want to lead off with one person and one person only.
Okay.
A guy who I don't think is going to be on the team much longer, who's 0-5, and the reason the White Sox couldn't sweep Cleveland. Mike Soroka, 5 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 4 Ks, 2 homers, 6.39 ERA. Let's get the bad out of the way first because it's mostly good for this weekend series with Cleveland.
I just don't know where the next thing is. As somebody was posting, I think it was Jordan Lazowski from Sox on 35th, is what the White Sox see that was going to be turning this year because the velocity is mid. His control was fine today, only walked 1, but it just everybody was centering up pitches. There was a change up of the low part of the zone that somebody crushed. Then there was a sinker in the middle of the zone. another dude crushed. I mean, right after hitting, or Jimenez hit himself with the ball in the third inning out of a batted ball on his knee, you hear today it was Lynn Casper and Steve Stone saying, oh, yeah, he's going to throw a cutter inside to him. No, he throws a middle down changeup that gets absolutely obliterated by Andres Jimenez. Just like if they know it, Andres Jimenez is probably expecting it. That's pretty commonplace when you do get hit yourself, that the pitcher's going to go back in there and get in the middle and see if that knee's doing right. But no, he just throws the ball right in the middle of the zone. I don't know if it is one of the reasons why you saw Mike Clevenger, I think, went to Martin Maldonado last night, catcher ERA, where the catcher ERA for some pitchers when they throw to Corey Lee and when they throw to Martin Maldonado are totally different. So I don't know. Maybe he needs just exclusive Martin Maldonado catching, because he's been horrible this year. And even the last two starts where there was promise, today falls back down. And there wasn't even damage really from the top guys, where the Jose Ramirez of the world.
Yeah, and I know we like to make fun of David Fry. He saw Mike Soroka real well
Jesus.
today.
Hanging slider, top of the zone.
Meatball. I think the main thing with, I don't want to hem and haw too much over the trades, because I think, the Fletcher one's really iffy. I like the Prelander Baroa, Zach Deloach swap for Gregory Santos. Yeah. I thought that was a good move. But the Bummer one, I did not want Aaron Bummer on this team. Yes. I'm not looking at all, 30, now 40 games of the White Sox season, and I'm not thinking, oh, man, this team would look real different with Aaron Bummer. Oh, man, you know how I really miss Aaron Bummer for all of the people in the chat to just complain about and his FIP, where it's like, hey, maybe one day, someday soon, he'll have an ERA under 3. I'm cool. And I like Nicky Lopez. I think he's been a good addition. Jared Schuster doesn't seem to be a wasted guy. I think that he could still be a guy that could pitch for the White Sox for 5 years. He might be the next Tanner Banks. And we all laughed and joked about Tanner Banks. Tanner Banks might be your favorite White Sox, so don't laugh too much. But no, I think that Soroka was a fine guy to take a flyer on, because we kept being surprised in spring training that, this guy's younger than Michael Kopech. Yeah. This is a guy that actually went out there and had a ERA that was 2 in 2019, had a really impressive year. He just needs the opportunity. The White Sox gave him enough of an opportunity, I think. So I don't think I need to see Michael Soroka anymore.
Remember, Brian Bannister's he likes to do these things. Yeah. He likes to get the reclamation projects that had good success back in the day and get them back to that starting point. Hence the reason that Brad Keller's on this team, Mike Clevenger. But I thought Soroka would be the guy that he would focus his energy on. Hey, let's get him back to all-star Mike Soroka. And they're trying. They're doing all they can. But like you said, what is this, 8 starts now? Mm-hmm. We've seen enough. We've seen plenty of Michael Soroka. He really doesn't do anything special. And other teams see him yeah, let's go. Delicious eats. Every time you go out there, as we talked about with Clevenger, I would rather see the youngsters down in minor leagues, the Nestrinis, the Cannons of the world, even Drew Thorpe, to be pitching these innings instead of these guys who are veterans that are not doing anything, and that includes Michael Soroka. You could see Chris Flexen kind of turning in a circle, so I'll let that go as long as it can be good. But Michael Soroka, there's nothing there.
Yeah, no, nothing there. 10 starts for Soroka now after today. 6 whiffs today on 36 swings, 17% whiff rate. Not that great. He did have a decent amount of called strikes, 27% called strike plus whiff rate. That's still below average. And, hey, when you're giving up hard contact like you did and hanging sliders to David Fry, that's just going to be it for you. I'm also pretty done with Tim Hill. Tim Hill... Not my favorite White Sox. That was a pretty ugly inning for Tim Hill and Andrew Vaughn. Just throwing the ball all around the damn field.
Yeah, I thought it was that was an error on Tim Hill, but the Remillard one is a hard error to give to Vaughn, even though it was in the air. It was pretty much underneath the glove, a sidearm throw by Remillard to Vaughn. I think they're maybe 10 feet away from each other, and the ball just got on Vaughn really quickly. He couldn't just snag it. I was like, I guess it would probably been better if you throwing that on the ground and let Andrew get in on the short hop, because it was thrown so fast. They initially called it on Remillard, then they changed the air to Andrew Vaughn. But yeah, Tim Hill has had some good relief appearances. I think he had some scoreless relief appearances, like 4 or 5 in a row. But, yeah, today was not good. And that would be our Aaron Bummer. Tim Hill is Aaron Bummer, pretty much. I'm guarantee his FIP is like in the 4s and his ERA is like in the 6s. It's like, oh, yeah, see, if we just pick up the ball behind Tim Hill, we'll be fine.
Okay. I'll be honest. Hands up on me. Last 10 appearances for Tim Hill before this, 10 1/3 innings, 0 ERA.
Yeah.
All right. Before those, in the first 5 appearances, his ERA was 10. So I still thought it might have been, pretty high. But no, it's 2.64.
Yeah.
But today was pretty sloppy.
It was pretty bad.
We'll just move on. And I see the chat, BF109 Pro and Melissa also bringing up Kevin Pillar. They should have DFA'd Ortega instead of Pillar.
That was tough.
Pillar got DFA'd before Ortega was even added to the 40-man.
Correct.
So that wasn't really a 1-and-1. I'm pretty sure Pillar was DFA'd to make room for Clevenger because they needed to sign him to the no.
No, it was somebody they had to bring up
was
on
that the first
Friday.
time they did it? Did they sign him? Was that the first time they DFA'd Pillar and then they brought him back?
That might be
misremembering
in the spring training. Yeah,
Anyways.
when they DFA'd him on Saturday and then he got re-signed on Sunday. I don't recall, but yes, Ortega's play today, if you guys missed it, it was a Florial single up the middle. He tried to dive for it. The ball jumped in front of him, and then he didn't smother the ball to keep it right in front of him. The ball went past him back into center, so he turned a single into a triple unnecessarily because at that time, Soroka was fine. It was 0-0, and he was doing well, and then that run was turned into the first run of the game where I think Tommy Pham threw a perfect throw, but it was a bounce that was a little too high for Corey Lee to corral, where he was trying to throw out Florial at the plate on a sacrifice fly. So I thought the defense was good there. I thought the execution was good, just didn't catch the ball for Corey Lee. It wasn't like a Yasmani Grandal, ball's in the glove, he drops it, Yasmani can't catch type of thing. It was just a bad hop that Tim Hill couldn't corral.
I know I shouldn't.
Corey Lee.
Yeah, I know I shouldn't go too much into that name that you just brought up because you're just mentioning past memories. But how about our man Yasmani Grandal? Ooh. I mean, he's getting some shine on Saturday.
Jesus Christ.
Catching Paul Skeens, the MLB debut. Paul Skeens looked real nice. I mean, hey, he handled the rookie right there. I also think he threw his first K-ball into play. I don't think he threw it directly into the dugout. AJ pointed that out in the clip. I think he threw it around the horn. It's like, hey,
because Yasmani's a dick.
You chuck that into the dugout.
He's like, you'll get more, kid. Here, this one's going around the
right.
the horn.
You'll have thousands of these. Don't worry.
And then he hit a home run.
Maybe. And he dropped that bat. I mean, mercy. Let's go. So, Yasmani Grandal, he might be back, folks.
He's not. He's bad still.
All right. Is there anything else that you want to bring up from today? Corey Lee did have a nice, sharp single in the second. I know that you brought up Brian Ramos. White Sox weren't really able to do much today offensively. Ramos did have one that, hey, went 300 feet, so that's always fun to see. I mean, anything that you take away from the 7-0 loss, or you want to take your first break and then we'll get into the good stuff?
Yeah, there's nothing there that was impressive. I mean, I guess you give shout-outs to Zach Rimlar for getting the most hits on the team. He had 2. Congratulations, sir. The movie's going to be even more spectacular.
Do we have a sound effect to congratulate Zach Rimlar?
No.
No.
We still haven't fixed it.
Oh, we don't?
The only sound we have on here is this one. Just beer.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah.
What happens if you hit any? Oh, okay. Then
Yeah,
it's just unable to play
we
the
have to
song.
download them in.
All right. You can crack another beer for Zach Rimler. Why not? All right. We're not doing a beer read, but whatever. You know what I'm thinking of, Herb?
What are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of making that sound right there tomorrow morning, cracking open a nice, lovely can of pop, because that's what you drink in the morning, and having some pork. I think there's no better way in the world to start your morning off with 2 pieces of pork. It's high in protein.
Yep.
If you're going to be having a very active day, if you're going to be going out for a walk, hey, maybe you're Brad Keller, you're going to be throwing 3 innings. You got to eat some pork. So why not introduce some pork into your diet? First off, it's grilling season, so get your pork. People who are active need more protein than the average American, so why not work it into your diet, whether it's in breakfast. I like 2 pieces of bacon. Maybe it's at lunch. You just have a ham sandwich. Maybe it's for dinner. Maybe you put some chops on the grill, huh?
Yeah.
Or maybe you make a nice roast. I don't have time for that, but maybe you do. Maybe you can make a nice roast.
Or a full pig.
Or or a full pig. Maybe I saw something. There's a new show, Zillow Gone Wild.
Okay.
And this lady bought the Palm Springs house of one of the Gabor sisters.
Yes.
And they're Hungarian. And in the kitchen, they had a full spit, rotisserie spit. So if you're living in the Palm Springs Gabor house, you could make the full pig and put it on the spit right there. Elevate your protein game with lean pork, a powerhouse of natural goodness. Savor the flavor, savor the gains, and celebrate any occasion, like Mother's Day, by enjoying the best pork produced by Illinois pig farmers. From your sausage and bacon for breakfast to pulled pork or juicy chops hot off the grill, it's an entire season dedicated to pork and the people behind the product, paid for by Illinois pork producers. Generations of commitment. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. I messed up. All right. They gave us a real layup here, to use a basketball term, because I'm talking about a basketball prop here, Herb.
Yep.
Caitlin Clark is making her debut on Tuesday.
Yes.
Prize Picks is offering a free square for Caitlin Clark's debut game on Tuesday, May 14th. If Caitlin Clark gets at least 1 point, then the square wins. There's a timer on this square, so users must add it to the lineup before the timer ends before her first game. I did. I took the more than half a point, right? And before she even played on Tuesday,
Yes.
entry was dead. Because I took Jalen Brunson over 35.5 points. And Herb, guess what?
Jalen struggled, didn't get over 35.5 points.
And you know what's when it's not more than, it's
Less than.
boom, baby. So yeah, that's dead. But you can go to Prize Picks right now and enjoy that fun square for Caitlin Clark's debut on Tuesday. And baseball season is officially underway, and there's no better way to cash in on the action than Prize Picks. Add your favorite players from the diamond to your Prize Pick lineups all season long, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more than or less than and add them to your Prize Pick lineup today. You can now win up to 100 times your money with baseball-only lineups on Prize Picks. If you submit a winning lineup featuring 4 demon squares, you'll be able to cash in big time on the biggest moments of baseball's early season. So go check out our friends over at Prize Picks at prizepicks.com/CHGO and use code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CHGO and use code CHGO. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. It wasn't technically a Mother's Day gift, but, you know, if your White Sox or if your mom was a White Sox fan, I think Garrett Crochet's performance probably would have been a nice gift. Hey, Mom, you know, Garrett Crochet really cares about you. He's going to give you 11 strikeouts. Boom. Steak dinner. So what do we want to take away from Crochet? There was obviously the bumps in the road there. He had the start on April 13th and April 19th and 24th where he gave up 5 earned, 7 earned, 5 earned, and that's an ERA that raised his ERA to 6.32, 13.11 ERA in those 3 starts. But in the last 3 starts, he's been absolutely phenomenal. 17 innings and a 1.59 ERA. Is it a bump in the road there? Is this just a guy figuring out how to be a starter? Because we really didn't see a real decrease in his stuff. Or do you think that there's more ugly starts down the road? Or is that just the life of a starter? I mean, where do you see Garrett Crochet after 9 starts?
I see him as much more advanced than I would have thought. If you would have asked me before the season, hey, give me a synopsis of where Garrett Crochet is going to be at after a certain amount of starts at May 12th. I'll be like, okay, he'll probably have a 7 ERA, wouldn't ever go into the 6th inning because he doesn't have the conditioning for it, and never would he have the White Sox record for starting off his starting career with the most strikeouts, more than Chris Sale. I would not have said any of these things, and that would have been fine, Sean. This is a year for learning for Garrett Crochet, and I know he only has 2 more years after this as the White Sox, but the way the White Sox have handled Garrett Crochet, even the times where I disagreed with them taking him out early, like when he's thrown 77 pitches and like, that's enough, take him out. They lose that game subsequently because other teams get to the White Sox bullpen. I'm like, that sucks. But also, yes, they're looking after his future and understanding that this year doesn't really matter as far as the results. This year matters as far as him getting his wind up, getting his throat pitches up, and seeing what works in the major leagues and then adjusting to. That's why in the middle of that, after the first 3 starts, he kind of went through a rocky start. Other people started adjusting. He started walking people, and now he's on the other side of that, adjusting back to what their adjustment was. This is the chess match that needs to go on until he finds his Randy Johnson, as you called him opening day. If he finds his inner Randy Johnson and then becomes that dominant pitcher next year, not this year. I don't expect that, even though this year he has been nothing short of spectacular at times, and sometimes he's a rookie pitcher, and he's not really a rookie pitcher, but it's his first year starting.
Yeah, and we're going to go out to Vinnie Duber, who is at Guaranteed Rate Field, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber. The most exciting thing that we didn't get to talk about with Crochet's start, 21 whiffs, 74% strike rate. He threw 32 cutters. That's the most of the season. And maybe that is the pitch that he's really going to end up leaning on, because he wants to be very clear, and he's told this to the beat writers, that he doesn't want to call the slider a sweeper, because then he'll start throwing it the wrong way, and he'll try to look for more sweep on the pitch. He's looking for a certain release on his pitch, and that has a slider release in his brain, but it does have more of a sweep. The cutter does seem to be a hard slider-ish pitch. And that's just really exciting to see. Like, it does really seem to be setting him apart. His four-seam set at 97 miles per hour. He was brilliant against Cleveland on the 10th. So that was exciting to see on Friday. Let's head out to Guaranteed Rate Field to Vinnie Duber, a mom in his own right. Vinnie, how is the day at the ballpark?
Just splendid. The weather is tremendous. The pink bats and the pink gloves and the pink shoes were all over the place. A perfect scene for Mother's Day if you happened to be a mother that was out here at 35th and Shields today.
Yeah, Michael Soroka's mom might not have had too much fun. We tried not to mention this game too much. So if there's not too much pressing things from today, we could just kind of skip it and talk about the fun things on Saturday and Friday if you want. So I'll let you speak here. Is there anything pressing from today from the ballpark that we need to know?
I don't know if you need to know it. I mean, you mentioned Michael Soroka, and he didn't look great. I think he is happier with how things are going of late compared to how they were going earlier in the season for him personally, in terms of, the stuff that doesn't show up in the box score, maybe, how he's feeling and how he's pitching and commanding and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it's another kind of short outing for him because he couldn't get the job done. He gives up 3 runs on those 2 homers in the 4th inning. And then the guy he walks there with 1 out in the 6th ends up scoring. Not entirely Michael Soroka's fault that he ends up scoring with all those kind of blunders that the White Sox made in that inning. But that's one of them. You can't walk guys. And so, Pedro Grifol comes and takes him out at only 71 pitches. And I asked Pedro after the game what the decision-making process was like there. And he's like, listen, I'm not a pitch count guy. I don't care if you got 70 or 90 or whatever. I'm going to make the best decision for the team. And I think with only a 4-run lead there, he was afraid of it getting bigger with Soroka, if Soroka would have stayed in the game, especially after you walk Jose Ramirez there. So, he went to the bullpen. It obviously got out of hand pretty quickly because of some defensive issues. That inning was among the uglier innings we've seen from the White Sox this year. Really, I think the story of the weekend is not all those negative things I'm talking about, right? And it's more the idea that, hey, the White Sox are, while it doesn't sound terribly impressive to say, 9-7 in their last 16 games. Like, that's something for a team that started 3-22, right? And so I think that a lot of the guys are talking about how this is more what they expected from themselves, what they expected to show everybody else. You had Soroka after the game kind of referencing what the team was saying in spring training to us, saying, hey, this is what we told you guys that we'd be doing in spring training. Look, you're seeing a little bit more of it now. And so I think, while I alluded to the fact that this is not a stretch that would maybe please a contending team, when you're a team, when you look up after 25 games and you only have 3 wins, if you're going to tell somebody that you're going to win 9 of 16, I think you'd be pretty happy with that. And I think the White Sox are happy to be winning some series like they did this weekend, to be playing some music in the clubhouse after games, and just kind of overall seeing themselves maybe coming out the other end of what was just a miserable stretch there for the first, 5 weeks of the season or so.
And it looks like, too, Vinny, that this last week, sans today, that the pitching was actually carrying the team for the first time, really, and, hitting came through, but it seemed like the whole theme this week was pitching was solid. Even starters or relievers, it did not matter. How do they feel about how their starting rotation and the relievers are coming along? Because it looks like they're improving. They're on the upswing instead of how they were doing in April.
Yeah, they feel great about it. Pedro Grifol before the game talked about how the starting pitchers and the catchers are, doing what time does, right? Which is building a better relationship, a stronger relationship. I don't think he was saying that it was bad early on, but now that time has, progressed and they've been around each other for a handful of starts each for all of these guys, here you go getting, some good performances out of the deal. Certainly the guy you were talking about, Garrett Crochet, looked fantastic on Friday night. How about Eric Fetty and what he's been able to do? And certainly Chris Flexen, let's shout him out because he's had a really good stretch himself. In the bullpen, I think it's more about those roles kind of coming into focus, right? I mean, Pedro kind of knows the guys he can turn to late in games. He has been turning to them. Jordan Leisure looks good, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. And I think he had probably one of the pitching moments of the year to this point on Thursday night when he got out of that bases loaded, nobody out situation that he stepped into to help out Eric Fetty. And then he comes back the next night on Friday and gets the save, 4-out save at that. So I think him and Michael Kopech are really clicking down in the bullpen. John Brebbia got the save yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, and I think that he has been pitching much better of late than kind of the up and down nature that he was a little bit earlier. I don't know how many of those guys are out there that are really super dependable, but for the most part they have been, and certainly those three guys at the back end. And then look at the long guys, right, and what they've been able to do. Brad Keller today, I think, allowed one base runner. Obviously it was a blowout when he stepped into the game, but he's been really good in long relief. Jared Schuster has been as well. So more roles being defined out in the bullpen is really helping them out right now, they say. But you're right, the pitching staff in general really kind of carrying them to what has been a nice stretch for them, all relative, of course.
And I like exactly what Pedro did last night. Michael Kopech didn't seem like he was available, and the last time that John Brebbia went out, he had a rough time. If there's an opportunity, Pedro got him back out there on the horse. It was a 3-1 game. He's like, hey, go and save this game. That's what a good manager does. They say, hey, I can't lose this guy for the year. I can't, just go away from one of my strong pitchers. He got his first White Sox save last night. It was good to see that Pedro is not shying away from his guys. I'm sure he wouldn't do that, but I give Pedro crap all the time, so I'm going to give him some credit when he does something right there, even though if the results was different, I would have still gave him credit for bringing John Brebbia out there last night to get the save. That was pretty much a statement, not a thing. Okay. Sorry.
No, you're all good. I just didn't know. Hey, sometimes Vinny likes to sneak some things in, so I didn't know if Vinny was going to be sneaking something in. I have a Chris Flexen question, but actually let's just take a break before we get into that. And I do see the chat talking about the thing that James Fox tweeted out. We'll get to that in a second. We want to let you know, though, about our friends over at Game Time. There is no better place to get your tickets to a Major League Baseball game than with our friends over at Game Time. They are going to save you so much stress. If you have so many fond memories of being at the ballpark, you probably don't have too many fond memories of ticketing sites, but it's usually well worth it. And Game Time takes away all that stress. You don't have to worry. Game Time is going to have you covered. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. So if you just want to roll up to the game buying your ticket, you can do that with Game Time. If you want to get your seat right away and then monitor and then, like Herb, match your price to a different site, you can get 110% of the difference with our friends over at Game Time with their Game Time guarantee. So go take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
In February, the Minnesota Timberwolves came to Chicago to play the Chicago Bulls, and they were dogging the Bulls, killing them early. And then the Chicago Bulls had a epic comeback. Do you know who was there? Members of the CHGO Bulls fam came out on their takeover night, and they had one of the greatest nights in NBA for the Chicago Bulls of the season. you can do the same. I know it's not a great season so far, but you know what? The White Sox, I agree with them on that it's better at the ballpark. 100% better watching games at the ballpark. And you can come with us on this month, May 27th, when we take over Guaranteed Rate at 147, Section 147. Me, you, Sean, Vinny, and we'll be having some good drinks out there, including some Leinenkugels. So you can come May 27th. Go to allchgo.com on the events page, and it's right there linked for you. If you want to come to all three of them, there is a link for you. We have one on May 27th. We have one on June 24th versus the Dodgers. And we have one on August 9th versus the Cubs. That night will be fireworks night. You can go to all three of them. There's a link right there in the comments, and the link is also in the description. Like I said, if you want to become a diehard, these tickets can be 20% off for you. You get a free t-shirt when you become a diehard. Like folks in the comments, we talked about Melissa earlier. AJ's a diehard also. I think our guy KBW is, even though he can't come out. He's a Toronto fan, a diehard. So if you want to become a diehard, allchgo.com and go to the diehards page and sign up today, so you can get 20% off of that. And if you do sign up for all three of these takeovers, I think you get a free t-shirt with that. So allchgo.com, either right there in the comments is the link or in the description.
Good job, Herb. Let's do this. Let's have fun at this takeover. Should be a blast. Again, hit that link. Share it. Sarah just shared it. Or Shara. Sarah shared it.
She shares it.
In the chat, so you can just click right there. Let's go also to what the chat is asking. Blake Name and Sam Marr are bringing up Martin Maldonado. And Vinny, you wrote an article up at allchgo.com on why people can figure out Martin Maldonado, why he's still on the White Sox team. But I do want to read the quote that Pedro said because it's pretty gold. I'm actually okay with his results at the plate. He hasn't played 12 years because he hits 300. He's played as long as he's played because he does what he does behind the plate. Martin Maldonado currently hitting, I think, still below 100, unless he went like 3 for 4 today. Is there anything else you took away besides just that quote? I know that sometimes I don't share the full quote and you get upset with me. So is there more to this than besides, Martin Maldonado knows how to game plan?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, game planning is probably the way to sum it up in one word. But I think the thing that Pedro has been raving about of late is kind of those in-game interactions with the pitchers. Listen, I'm very well aware that this is not going to change anyone's hearts and minds or anything like this, but I'm sure you've got a lot of folks out there wondering, why is this guy still playing? His offensive numbers are just horrendous. Well, he is playing for a reason. It might not be a reason that you, the fan, are very happy about, but he is out there making a difference in the way that these guys are pitching on a regular basis. I don't think that it is a value that shows up in the score sheet. I don't think it's a value that a lot of folks outside the team are going to appreciate too much. But if you're asking the question, why is he still playing? The answer is the White Sox are very happy with what he's doing as a catcher, what he's doing as a guy who is calling a game alongside a pitcher, as a guy who is game planning, Sean, to use the word that you were saying there. They really, really like that. They really, really like the effect that it's having on Corey Lee as well. There's no doubt about it. His offense has been atrocious. He is, when I wrote that story on Friday, he had one of the 3 lowest batting averages in baseball. I mean, he for the people who had the number of at-bats that he had. So it's hard to say he shouldn't be in the lineup, though, because I think that they value so much of what he's saying. It's easy to say it if you're a fan because you're like, oh, look at those offensive numbers. He's not going to hit. The other guy is. But it's hard to say that from the White Sox perspective because they know what he's doing from an intangible standpoint, and they like what he's doing from an intangible standpoint, whether you're happy with all the parade of outs that he contributes at the plate or not.
And hey, Martin Maldonado today, to give him credit, got above 106. He's currently hitting 106.
Well, he didn't bat today, so he did that yesterday.
Sorry, just now he currently stands after Saturday.
He's on the interstate.
Correct.
He's on the interstate. He's at 106 batting average. So good job for Martin Maldonado. Maybe things are about to turn around.
Hey, man, small wins.
Maybe he'll have a streak of 25 games where he's got like a 300 batting average.
In my brief,
but I'll say this. I'll say this though too is that like people are like, well, he's taking playing time away from Corey Lee. Like, sure, if Corey Lee was ready to be somebody who played 4 out of every 5 games, I mean, this is the catcher position, remember, too. You know, the catcher doesn't play 12 days in a row like somebody at another position might do. Corey Lee's been fantastic. He's been excellent at the plate. He's been very good behind the plate as well. But you know, he's still learning how to do this. He's still learning how to be a big league catcher, and having a resource like Martin Maldonado there, a guy who, if you'll remember correctly, when Lee came over in that trade from the Astros last year, Lee brought Maldonado up as somebody who had greatly influenced him and greatly impacted his growth as well. So he's continuing to do that for Corey Lee. I think that's a great resource for Lee to have. He's learning probably how to be the kind of catching presence that Maldonado is currently and still earning, or has been for a long time, and is still earning a lot of plaudits for being. So I think it's good for Corey Lee to have that resource here. And also, we've only seen Corey Lee's playing time go up. You know, I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I remember at the beginning of the season, it was very clear that Maldonado was going to play the lion's share of the games. Corey Lee's been playing a lot, and he's earned it, right? He's hit his way into that position. I believe I looked today, before the game today, he led the White Sox in OPS plus. Like, he was their best hitter, or tied for it at least, coming into this game today. So Corey Lee is playing plenty. Maldonado is hitting terribly. Everybody is going to acknowledge that, but there is stuff that Maldonado's doing that this team values, and so that's why he keeps playing.
I just want to bring this up. This is the only person that I could find with 160 appearances at catcher in a season. Randy Hundley in the 1968 Cubs.
Former Cub guy.
Yeah, and then he never played more than 160 again because I think his knees probably exploded.
Yeah, I would say I looked up Martin Maldonado and White Sox pitchers pitching to him, and I don't know if you believe in catcher ERA or not, but it's a clear thing when they throw to Martin Maldonado and when they throw to Corey Lee as far as ERA, especially. I think Garrett Crochet is very stark, and Mike Clevenger only threw one time to Corey Lee, but it was like a 6 ERA, and of course he threw to Martin last night, and it was a victorious job, even though it was on 4 1/3. But the thing I'm not happy with, even though they just won 4 out of the last 5, awesome. Eloy Jimenez, he's hitting at a higher ground ball rate than he did last year, where he was very, very upset about it. He's like at 53% right now, and his hard hit percentage is down to 32%, the lowest of his career. What do Marcus Timms and Eloy Jimenez himself have to say for the work they're doing, and it's not actually showing results right now?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked to Pedro a few times about this, and, you know, Pedro obviously is one to very much compliment his guys all the time, but he's one to very much acknowledge that Eloy's not doing what he wanted to do. I mean, he spent the offseason trying to fix this very problem, right? And we heard in spring training, we saw in spring training, because Eloy had a really good spring training, that that problem was maybe not solved, but certainly vastly improved, right? And then I think he has the injury at the beginning of the season, and he's probably just kind of trying to work his way back into what he was doing in the spring. At least that's the way Pedro has explained it. So he says that work is ongoing and that they're working on it all the time. But you're right, Herb. We have not seen it really pay off at all. Eloy is, if he's getting on with a single that sneaks through the infield at this point. It is not looked like a guy who should be, or who was projected to be, this middle of the order home run machine. You know, he's just not doing it. And you pointed out as being noticeable. I've certainly noticed it watching him over the last week or so. I mean, really, since he came back, it hasn't really been any different. But all I can say from their standpoint is that he's doing the work that he knows that he needs to do, but the payoff is not there.
Is there starting to see some payoff for Andrew Vaughn over the past 13 games or so? I think his batting average is over 290, on base percentage of over 300. Not by much, so I won't give him too much credit there. But today had a double and a walk. Does it feel like Vaughn's kind of turning things around a bit? Please say yes.
I mean, it does, and it has for a while, I think. I mean, I can recall back to even a couple weeks back where he wasn't getting the hits, but he was stinging the ball, right? And I think that was kind of the sign of things to come. Now you see the batting average and the actual hits happening. Yeah, I mean, listen, again, the expectations for this guy are so high because of his draft position, because of who he was supposed to be in the middle of this lineup, that this is positive, but it's certainly not all the way there, right? So he did get that first home run the other night. He didn't really think of it as, a monkey off the back or anything like that, even if kind of everybody else kind of looked at it that way. I think even his teammates were talking about it being such. But I think in general, the outcomes have been a lot better. And a guy who started as horribly with his personal numbers as the team did from a win-loss standpoint during that really awful, ugly stretch to begin the season, is now coming around. I don't want to say that he's back, right? Because again, remember who this guy is supposed to be. Remember who this guy has constantly been touted as in terms of a pure hitter. Forget even the home runs for a minute, right? The idea was that this guy is just that he can hit. He's going to fall out of bed hitting kind of thing. Certainly, we didn't see that in the early going. We're starting to see a little bit more of it, but I don't think he's all the way back yet.
I forgot about this, that Paul DeJong left the game like 7th inning, I believe it was. Was it just like you're getting blown out, get a rest, or was it he's hurt?
Not hurt, I asked.
Okay.
Pedro said that DeJong's played something like 11, 12 games in a row, something like that, and so he just wanted to get some time off his feet for him. I think he also mentioned that Braden Shoemake hadn't done a ton of hitting in a while, and so he wanted to make sure that he got in there for an at-bat before the game was over, too. It did come right after that double play, so I was like, did something happen? Did something happen while he was running to first or something like that? But no, he's fine. He just wanted to get DeJong a little bit of a rest.
Did you have a hawk moment and you went down and checked on him, or did you just ask him post game?
I just asked post game. But no, it's funny because we don't have the sound on the broadcast up here in the press box when it's happening. So we're, when something like that happens, we're all like looking around like, oh, do you see him in the dugout? What's he doing? What's his body language say? Is he okay? Kind of thing. When probably you've got, one of the 50 TV cameras in here caught, the exact lip reading of what Pedro and him were talking about. So they always seem to know what's going on before we do. But we're trying our best to spy and come up with what we can.
All right. Before we get into Crochet, it does seem like the White Sox kind of have a 5-man rotation. Does it seem like it will be Flexen, Fedde, Crochet, Clevenger, Soroka from here on out? I don't know. We talked before you joined that, Soroka's had 10 starts, and I've seen enough of them. Does it seem like those are their 5 guys? Or, will there be some movers and shakers, especially with Nastrini and Cannon being down in AAA?
I think for now it's safe to say those are their 5 guys, but it's always subject to change, right? And I think we've seen that already throughout this season with Chris Flexen in particular. But Flexen's pitching well right now, and he certainly deserves to get a shot at that rotation spot every 5th day with the way he's pitching, with the results that he's getting. I've brought it up several times, though. They've got multiple long relievers on this team. They've got Brad Keller, who you saw today and is doing a very good job of it. They've got Jared Schuster, who's doing a very good job of it. And Pedro even mentioned that Tanner kind of included Tanner Banks in that group the other day, just because he's a guy that's capable of going multiple innings in one appearance and kind of eating up some time for the bullpen. If at all, any of these guys, but particularly Chris Flexen, because he's already been moved to the bullpen and back, stumbles at all, and they need to move things around again, they've got some options in Keller and Schuster right here on the Major League roster. They don't even have to dip down into AAA if it all shakes out that way. But again, that has to do with off days and usage and the bullpen and how do they save the bullpen and ba. So, we saw all that play out, right, when they threw out Keller for a long relief outing when he was the guy we were expecting to get the next start. Then Flexen went out there and pitched really well, and now he's been starting. So I think that they have some mix and match capabilities that are built into this big league roster right now. I think we can expect the Nastrinis, the Cannons, and the whoever else's of the world, if you want to throw Drew Thorpe in there too, to get major league action later on in the season, kind of after they've made their trade deadline decisions and done all that stuff. I think that is a late summer thing. At this point, it looks that way, pending health and all of that kind of thing. Right now, I think they've got kind of the crop of starting arms they want up here right now.
And I know we're going to get to Crochet, but I got a serious question for Vinny. We only see a little bit of your shirt, and I assume it says the Birds, but my fat ass thought it said the Euros. I was like, delicious. The Euros. That's a great band name. But, yeah, I'm kind of hungry. But the Birds, yeah, that works too. ahead,
Yes, this is a good. It's a great shirt. And listen, Herb, I love Euros as well, so I'll go ahead and tip my hat on the Euros reference.
I like their second album. I did not like their third album. Is the vibes good around Garrett Crochet? We talked about in his last 3 games, 159 ERA. I don't know if there was much talk pregame or postgame about Crochet, but I think you were in the building on Friday. So what am I even talking about?
Yeah.
You were in the building on Friday. That were the vibes on Friday with Garrett Crochet. What am I talking about?
Of course they were good. The guy was amazing. Just 11 strikeouts, no walks. I mean, he pitched really well. I heard Herb talking about it when I joined, and you're right on, Herb. Like, even if you thought Garrett Crochet was going to be good, you didn't know that he was capable of this because we just didn't know what he was going to do as a starter, right? And listen, I think everybody agreed that this guy was a talented pitcher. You know, he'd had success in that bullpen role. But all of a sudden you're starting as a major leaguer, you're going to go out there and throw 90 pitches in a game? Like, okay, what can you do? Well, it turns out what he can do is be an at times dominant starting pitcher. And granted, we're in mid-May here. There's a long way to go this season, and there's a lot more starts from Garrett Crochet that we're going to see. But I think more than anything, he's answered the question of can he do it from a pitching standpoint. Now we need to see how long does he last from a workload standpoint, from a body standpoint. Everything on that front right now seems to be tremendous, right? I mean, you've got Pedro talking about the idea that the reports they get from whether it's the training staff or the pitching coaches or from Garrett himself, no complaints whatsoever in terms of the health, in terms of the body, and in terms of how he's feeling. You've got Corey Lee talking about the work that Garrett's doing between starts to make sure that his body is ready for this. It sounds like that Garrett himself has a really good plan and a really good routine right now to keep that going. Now, he's almost at that career high in terms of a number of innings in a season already, and we're in mid-May. So how this is going to play out, we're going to see. They don't want to shut him down, but they also know that he needs to have nights like he had the other night where he goes 6-7 innings, right? I mean, so and dominates a lineup, because that's going to make him the starting pitcher that he needs to be for the future as well. So there are going to be nights where he only goes 5, and Pedro's already come up with a term for it, short starting him, you know, and he's already using it a lot to talk about the approach with Crochet. But they're going to use off days. They're going to do that stuff. Garrett Crochet has been extraordinarily impressive. He cut through a first-place lineup the other night, even if, you know, the Guardians might not impress you when you see it stacked up there. This team's in first place in the AL Central, and he cut right through it. He's looking very, very good right now. And while Eric Fetty might be a little bit more reliable, consistent, just because of the kind of pitcher he is, Garrett Crochet is blowing me away with what he's been able to do, and I think he probably has done that with the vast majority of people who have been watching this team.
Absolutely, and I think the thing that, again, is always the pitch count and the innings. As you mentioned, he's feeling good, so there's not much to report there, but has he even talked about like encroaching on that career high in pitches already? He's at 773. The career high in a season is 915. That was in 2021, and we're already in mid-May. Like, it's just so impressive that he's having this outing where it doesn't look like there's any, denigration of his stuff, and he is still this guy in the 6th inning who's still, sitting 97. Is there any worry? Is Pedro, again, I think you mentioned with Soroka, he's like, I'm not a pitch count guy. Is that just kind of their vibe? Just, he threw 97 innings and he feels good. So that's a win for us.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked a lot about what the team's approach is, and I think it is truly a wait and see kind of thing, a really go by the day, go by the start, and really kind of find your opportunities to limit that pitch count, to save him an inning here, to save him an inning there. Use the schedule to save him a day here and save him a day there. They really want, like I said, they really don't want to get to the point where they have to be like, that's it, buddy, your season's over. You've gone too much here. Because, again, he wants to be a starter. They want him to be a starter. You want to be a starter, this is the job. Go out there and throw a bunch of innings, right? Obviously, they don't want his arm to fall off, but they want him to be able to do this. From Garrett Crochet's standpoint, sure seems like he doesn't care at all. I mean, I think you talked to him about it. He's used this phrase a lot, kind of like, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. You know what I mean? Like, in his mind, he's a starter. He has been since probably even before last season ended. But certainly once he got the green light from the White Sox to embark on this path, he is a starting pitcher in his mind, and he has done the work to go out there and be one. He has done the work to go out there and be a very good one. And when we ask about the innings and the health, he says, "I feel good. I don't really care about the innings count. We'll kind of cross that bridge if we have to," kind of thing. And I don't think that he has any notion in his mind, while he feels good, right, while he feels physically good, that anything needs to change. And maybe that ends up being for the best. Maybe that ends up putting him in a situation where one day he wakes up and the left arm doesn't feel as good as it does right now. But I think that right now, for both him and the team, it's very much a let's just see how it goes. And if it goes good, there's nothing to worry about, then there's nothing to worry about kind of thing. Usually that's not how baseball ends up treating players, but more power to him for keeping positivity and feeling good in the moment.
Yeah, and I'm going back and forth. I saw somebody talking about in the chat about Garrett Crochet possibly on the trade block, as alluded to what the James Fox tweet is. And I'm like, yeah, on one hand, a good starting pitcher on a bad team, really, what does that do for you, especially when that pitcher only has 2 years after this? But also, this guy's special. And so you hold on to special, and maybe he can come through and the White Sox can sign him for a longer-term deal. Hopefully they're working on it right now. And you keep special. And, yes, everything else that is available can be moved unless somebody's just sending you some deal that is out of this world and you're like, hey, Garrett, it's been real, man. You got 2 years left. We'll take the people who are coming back for us. But, man, it's going to be really hard for the White Sox front office staff to rid themselves of Garrett Crochet because of the specialness that he has in his future and currently. And I know that they want to get better quicker, but I would say, man, if you see this guy as being special, even for the 2 years that you have after this, and that's it, you got to keep that guy.
And just for the people who might not be aware of what you're talking about, James Fox of Future Sox said the White Sox are playing better, but I've heard that they're totally open for business. They'd be willing to trade anyone on their roster, including Luis Robert Jr. and Garrett Crochet. They should be pretty interesting throughout the summer. So I think that's a different topic for a different day. Yeah. Just because, again, we talked about, at least with Robert, how do you actually get the right value? And I'm with you. I would extend Garrett Crochet. He's young. He's 24. He was your former first-round pick. You obviously saw something in him a long time ago. It seems weird to just kind of fold those cards. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And you gave him the opportunity to start. I think he might be very gracious that you gave him that opportunity and believed in him and trusted him. So I don't know, maybe work on that good faith and build a relationship. Maybe that's happening behind the scenes. I don't know.
Like
but
Steven
if
Strasburg.
Right. If they're putting that out there,
it's not working out too well right now for the Nationals.
Hey, we're
coming to town tomorrow.
They won a World Series. But no, I mean, if it is a thing with Crochet, I don't know, it just seems like you're wasting it. If James is putting this out there, it seems like they are exploring it, not looking for an extension. Anyways, any final things, Vinny, before we let you go?
No, I don't think so. I think just in terms of rostery stuff, Danny Mendick is expected to go on a rehab assignment sometime in the next couple days. I know we've talked about Brian Ramos a lot and what that could mean, what Mendick's return could mean for Brian Ramos, but I think probably the roster spot you're looking at going away when Mendick comes back is the one being currently held by Zach Remillard, who's on base 3 times today. How about that?
Herb brought it up, so don't worry. We gave Zach Remillard his flowers. Anyways, we appreciate Vinny. Make sure you follow him at Vinnie Duber. You can read his latest piece up at allchgo.com. We will talk to him tomorrow for our coverage of the Nats and White Sox. He won't be there for pregame, but he'll be there for postgame at Guaranteed Rate Field. So make sure you follow him. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at Eckerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. Hit that thumbs up button. Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.